back to my backyard. I'm Brent Woolard, and today we're going to be cooking some chicken thighs on our Weber Vortex. I've got 4 thighs here. I've got some Paul Newman's Own classic oil and vinegar to marinate them in. I've got a nice knife to trim them up, a thermopin because we use time to roughly guess when the food's going to be done for planning purposes, but we use the internal temperature to know when it is done, and we're going to get these up to 165 internal. Got a plastic bag to store them in while they marinate here. It's almost 7 o'clock on Friday morning. I've got a cutting board here to cut on them, so let's get going. First things first, the time-honored argument about your chicken, whether or not to wash it or not. Don't. But you definitely want to dry the chicken pieces. So I'm going to take them out of the carton here, and I'm going to get all the water off, or as much of it as I can, because that water will prevent the skin from crisping up when we're cooking. I've dried them off, and to go with these, I'm going to make these for lunch today, and we'll do a little taste test. I'm also going to do an ear of corn in the Vortex in some tin foil with some butter, salt, and pepper. So we'll get to that right before we throw it on the grill. But right now I've got them dried off, and I'm going to show you right here. Almost all these thighs will come with this wrapped over extra skin. So we're going to go ahead and cut that off. That one looks pretty good. Same here. You want to, I like to leave some skin on. Some people don't, that's fine. We don't judge here in my backyard. Well, if you've watched the show, we do our share of judging, but only on each other and in jest. So, getting these things trimmed up. Now that we've trimmed them, we're going to throw them in the plastic bag and then put the marinade on them. We're using the Paul Newman's classic oil and vinegar, and that oil is really going to help crisp the skin. The vinegar is going to help the marinade penetrate the chicken. I'm really looking forward to this. A friend of mine turned me onto this at work, and so I'm going to give this a shot. It wasn't too bad. I think it was a little under $3 for the bottle. Probably going to use about half of it in this run. Love the flavor, love the scent rather. It's about half. Now we're going to burp the air out of it. So we want as much of that marinade touching the meat as possible. And I'd say that looks pretty good. A little bit of air in there, but not too much. So we'll come back here. It's 7 o'clock now. We're probably going to cook these up between 10 and 11. We'll see how I feel. I got some other stuff to do around the house today on my every other Friday day off. And we'll be back. It's a little afternoon. Our chicken's been soaking for a little over 5 hours in that oil and vinegar salad dressing. So right now we're going to prep the grill. So I've got regular Kingsford briquettes in my briquette chimney, and I use either the Weber cubes or what they call the tumbleweeds. Now you just use one, which is plenty. And I highly recommend getting this side table for your Weber if you don't have one. It's real handy to be able to put things on. So we just set the cube underneath. Light it, set it in. It'll take about 20 minutes. As soon as you see the plasma of the flame coming over the top, you know that you're ready. Also, for the entirety of this cook on the Vortex, I use the vents top and bottom fully open. Let's go inside, we'll prep the chicken and bust out the corn. Here's our chicken right here. I'm going to go ahead and drain a lot of the excess. Now for the corn, it's getting late, end of summer, into fall, So this is the only fresh corn I could get my hands on. I prefer it in the husk. So we're going to take each one of these two with some butter. It's going to give it some flavor and some moisture. Get a little salt. A little fresh ground pepper. We'll wrap these up. With them on the side with the Vortex as well. And while we cook this chicken, you're going to notice I'm not going to turn the chicken, I'm not going to touch it other than to take its temperature. And that's the beauty of the Vortex. So right now we're ready to put them on. It's 12:05 right now, a 7-hour brine. It's probably best to go at least 24 hours, but we'll see how this tastes. I think it'll take fine. We got the corn with butter and salt and pepper. As soon as we got about 15 minutes before the briquettes are ready, and then we'll go out and start cooking. Briquettes took about 25 minutes to get to where I have flames coming out the top. So now I'm going to dump them into the Vortex. And the theory of the Vortex, and it seems to work pretty well as I step around here, is that this flame coming out of this volcano looking center hits the roof of the Weber and rolls around all the sides, except of course where the vent is, which we'll leave open. And it creates about a 500-degree convection oven, 400 to 500 degrees depending. So we've got them, the briquettes started, throwing the grill in. We'll let the grill heat up a little bit. I've got a temperature gauge right now on the back side that's cold. It'll just take a minute, and then we'll scrape the grill a little bit, spray it with some oil, throw the chicken and the corn on. And that was 25 minutes for the briquettes to get hot and cooking in the chimney. It's been a couple minutes here with the briquettes and the grill inside, so I am going to scrape the grill a little. My Vortex is just a touch off center, so I'm going to slide it back to the middle. There we go. Spraying the oil. I'll put the chicken all over here. Oil, spray oil and flames, right? Now, like I said earlier, because of the Vortex, it doesn't superheat the metal underneath the chicken, so there's no need to constantly turn it. I'm going to leave this in the same place the entire cook. I'm actually going to spin this around, get the bulk of the meat kind of in the middle. Believe it or not, in theory, the hotter part should be the outside of the grill, not the inside, as long as it's not hanging over into the flames themselves. So I got 4 chicken thighs here, all gooped up. All the flames will go out soon. I'm going to set my corn on the far side. And I'm going to set my grill grates on the opposite side of the chicken so that we get the heat constantly cascading over the chicken instead of coming out of the grill. I'll come out here in about a half hour and check the temperature. I expect this to take about 40 to 45 minutes. Alright, it's been about 30 minutes and let's take a look at our temperatures. Got my thermopen here. You can see I have not touched, so that's at 169. 180 definitely done. 155. 167. Actually, that came down a bit. Internal temp 159, 158. These two are done. I'm going to pull those two. I'm also going to pull the corn. I'm going to give those other two a couple minutes. Let's take one more quick look and see if these other two are done. That one's at 164 in the middle. Okay, and that extra couple minutes of putting the other ones away, these came up to temp. So we are done. All right, welcome back to the man cave. Who knows, someday you might watch a football game in here with me. So we cooked our chicken. We marinated it for about 5 hours in the Paul Newman's vinegar and oil dressing. Smells great. I haven't tasted it yet. We put the chicken on about 12:32 on our Vortex. So it cooked. Right now it's 12:05. I took the first two off a couple minutes early. So we're looking at 30 to 35 minutes on the Vortex for these chicken thighs to be done. I had the corn in there as well. Let's take a look at that, see how that turned out. Buttery, juicy. Take a look here so you can see how that looks. Oh yeah. Steam coming off it. Let's get a taste of this stuff. Try the corn first. Very tasty. It's all still pretty hot, but let's take a taste of this chicken. Tear a piece of this thigh off. Still pretty hot, but let's see what we got here. Juicy. Here's the piece of skin. I'll tear some of this surface thigh off. Juicy, tasty. I like it, but I will say that's not enough saltiness for me, so I'll use that dressing again, but I'll put some more, add some seasonings to it. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you on the next adventure.